Welcome. Selamat datang, selamat sore Indonesia, and good morning to London and to Europe. Forgive our slight delay, but this is now the start of our Indonesia Investment Forum webinar event, organized together by Bank Indonesia, the Indonesian Embassy here in London, and BKPM, Indonesia's Investment Coordinating Board. Thank you very much, everyone, for linking in today for what we hope will be an informative and engaging event for all of you. Aside from this forum, we also have YouTube live streaming from two channels, KBRI London TV and Bank Indonesia. We expect this webinar to run for up to 2 hours, I'll shortly introduce 4 speakers who will talk in turn for a few minutes each. That sequence will take about 25 minutes, and then follows the main part of our show, which is an interactive panel discussion among 4 brilliant panelists, live on screen, and importantly, also engaging directly with you, the audience, responding to your live questions and comments, as if you were in a hotel ballroom with us in Jakarta. This talk show session should run for an hour or so, and I'll explain the technicalities of that when the time comes. But the next face you'll see on screen is that of Ambassador Desra Percaya, one of our hosts today as Indonesia's ambassador here to the UK, a seasoned senior diplomat. He's also our host today in London as the Republic of Indonesia's ambassador here to the UK. And Pak Desra has represented his country in New York at the UN, in Geneva, at the World Trade Organization, and in fact, almost everywhere. So, Your Excellency, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pak Tony. Excellencies, Bapak Peri Warjio, Governor of Central Bank of Indonesia, Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, Bapak Balil Lahadalia, Minister of Investment, distinguished panelists, Bapak Dodi Budi Waluyo, Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia, Bapak Nurul Ikhwan, Deputy Investment Planning to the Minister of Investment, my sister, Ibu Sinta Kamdani, CEO of Sintesa Group and Vice Chairperson for International Relations of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And last but not least, my brother, Bapak Ferry Pasaribu, Deputy Assistant for Investment Strategy and Acceleration Policy of the Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment. Distinguished participants, companies executive from the UK and Europe, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from UK and good afternoon to our panelists in Jakarta. Warm welcome to you all to the Indonesian Investment Forum 2021. Allow me first to express my highest appreciation to the Indonesian Investment Promotion Center, IIPC London, Bank Indonesia Representative Office in London, and Ministry of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia for co-hosting this timely and important event with the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in London. We are honored to have a great support and cooperation from UK ABC, ASEAN Business Partners, Asia House, Asia Matters, KIPA, Bank Mandiri, and Bank BNI. Special acknowledgement also goes to the Indonesian embassies and Consulate General in Europe, which make this event possible. Participants, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia is an attractive investment destination. It is the world's 4th largest population and biggest economy in Southeast Asia, with demographic bonus and growing number of middle-income class. We continue to enhance the ease of doing business and provide more investment incentives, among others, by implementing major unprecedented legislative reform through Omnibus Law on job creation and enacting 51 out of 54 its implementing regulations. We have set up new investment priorities to support the estimated growth of 4.1 to 5.1% and have managed successfully maintain the stable outlook of our sovereign bond rating amidst the crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, In this forum, you will hear more about this positive progress from the top policymakers, such as Governor of Bank Indonesia himself. You will also have the opportunity to discuss with prominent speakers from the government and private sectors in the panel discussions. More importantly, you will be presented with more than 20 concrete investment opportunities from various sectors, ranging from transportation, waste management, to infrastructure. For you who wish to have an in-depth one-on-one meeting with the project owners, I kindly invite and urge you to register for business matching tomorrow, 28th of May, 2021. Our team will be more than happy to assist you. Finally, this is the right momentum for you to tapping into concrete investment potentials in Indonesia, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the business matching session and to realizing these potentials into reality. Thank you, and thank you very much, Pak Tony.
Terima kasih, thank you, Pak Desra. We'll now hear remarks from Bapak Balil Lahadalia. He is Indonesia's Minister of Investment and has a long time served also as chairman of BKPM, one of our hosts today, the country's investment coordinating board. So, Bapak Balil, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang saya hormati Bapak Menteri Koordinator Bidang Kemaritiman dan Investasi, Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, Pak Gubernur Bank Indonesia, yang saya hormati Pak Peri Warjio, yang saya hormati Bapak Desra Percaya sebagai Duta Besar untuk Inggris, dan Bapak Ibu hadirin peserta Indonesia Investment Forum 2021. Yang pertama, saya ucapkan selamat kepada Pak Dubes dalam menyelenggarakan acara ini dengan teman-teman di Inggris. Bapak Ibu semua, seperti apa yang kita ketahui bahwa dunia kali ini mengalami sebuah cobaan yang sangat luar biasa dengan persoalan COVID-19. Yang diawali dari persoalan kesehatan berdampak pada persoalan ekonomi dan persoalan sosial. Di hampir semua belahan dunia, pertumbuhan ekonominya mengalami kontraksi. Sedikit negara yang mengalami pertumbuhannya positif. Di Indonesia sendiri, di tahun 2020 pertumbuhan ekonomi kita 2,19% minus, dan di kuartal pertama kita masih minus 0,75. Tetapi pertumbuhan tersebut dibandingkan dengan negara-negara lain di Asia Tenggara, kita masih jauh lebih baik. Bahkan pertumbuhan GDP kita terhadap negara G20, kita masih jauh lebih baik. Kita nomor 2 setelah China. Dalam konteks itu, di tahun 2020 terkait dengan realisasi investasi, itu totalnya sebesar 827 triliun. Di mana 827 triliun tersebut, foreign direct investment kita turunnya tidak terlalu besar. Hanya sekitar tidak lebih dari 10%. Dengan demikian, maka kepercayaan dunia terhadap Indonesia dalam melakukan investasi masih tetap terjaga. Dalam konteks yang lain, Eropa salah satu yang memberikan sumbangsi terhadap investasi di Indonesia. Di tahun 2020, Belanda masuk menjadi negara 5 besar. Dan di tahun 2021 di kuartal pertama, Swiss itu juga masuk pada 5 besar. Bagaimana posisi Inggris? Posisi Inggris pada 2019 itu masuk di peringkat 20 dengan total realisasi investasinya 142,1 juta US dollar. Kemudian di 2020 itu 192,8 juta US dollar. Tapi kita punya harapan besar. Kita punya optimisme bahwa ke depan Indonesia akan menjadi salah satu negara tujuan investasi. Kenapa? Sumber daya alam kita sangat luar biasa sekali. Tidak perlu diragukan. Kita mempunyai sumber daya alam baik dari perikanan, pertambangan, kehutanan, kemudian kita juga mulai membangun green energy dengan membangun power plant bertenaga air. Nah, ini juga menjadi salah satu daya tarik tersendiri. Di samping itu, kita di Indonesia sekarang baru selesai melakukan reform terhadap regulasi, di mana Undang-Undang Nomor 11 tentang Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja sudah selesai. Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja ini memberikan 3 hal kepada pengusaha. Pengusaha itu membutuhkan kepastian, kemudahan, efisiensi, dan transparan. Kalau dulu kita harus akui bahwa Indonesia itu regulasinya tidak terpusat dalam persoalan perizinan. Sekarang di 18 kementerian lembaga yang mengeluarkan izin berbasis elektronik via OSS, online single submission, yang dikelola oleh Kementerian Investasi BKPM. Saya pikir dengan cara-cara seperti ini maka pasti akan jauh lebih memudahkan bagi investor. Dengan tagline yang baru bagi kami sekarang adalah silakan investor membawa teknologi, membawa kapital, membawa sebagian modal, nanti izinnya, kemudian lokasi industrinya, nanti biarlah negara yang ikut hadir dalam mengurusnya. Ini adalah sebuah kerjasama yang baik antara pelaku usaha dengan pemerintah. Dalam perspektif yang lain, para teman-teman pengusaha yang ada di Inggris, kami ingin menyampaikan bahwa di Indonesia sekarang telah membangun kawasan industri yang berskala besar, yaitu di Batang. Di mana kawasan industri ini berada pada posisi segitiga emas, sebab hanya 350 meter dari tol, kemudian punya airport internasional, kemudian punya port yang luar biasa, punya rel kereta api, dan infrastrukturnya semua sudah bagus. Saya jamin tanah di sini jauh lebih murah dan clear and clean. Nanti pemerintah di bawah Kementerian Investasi dan BKPM akan membantu Bapak Ibu semua. Saya pikir ini yang perlu saya sampaikan. Selamat, sekarang kita bisa melakukan kerja sekalipun masih dalam keadaan COVID-19. Salam sehat, terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua.
And terima kasih. Thank you, Bapak Balil, for your words. We'll hear imminently from Bapak Peri Warjio. He's the current governor of Bank Indonesia, the country's central bank. This institution, I know, is highly regarded nationally, regionally, and globally. Peri has enjoyed a brilliant career there for 37 years now, focusing on research, monetary policy strategy, and external debt management. He's now Indonesia's #1 banker. He's here with us live in English. Bapak Peri, our screens are yours. Over to you.
Thank you, my dear friend Tony. I miss you really. A very good afternoon, all of my excellencies, ministries, Ambassador Destra. It's good to see you and everybody there, all of the distinguished speaker and my dear friend of business and investor in UK and Europe. It is really a great honor once again, and always a great honor for Bank Indonesia to co-jointly hold this event with Pak Dubes, with Excellency Ambassador, and my friend in Indonesian Embassy there in the UK, and also all of the ministry to have investment forum. As you know, regularly Bank Indonesia through our branches in London always support, and always because Bank Indonesia, the Central Bank of Indonesia, always supporting all of our effort to boost the economy of Indonesia and to boost the investor to Indonesia. And with that, only one message. Pak Dubes, Excellency Ambassador, Excellency Ministry, and ladies and gentlemen, only one message: invest in Indonesia. And then this is the time more than ever, always. Indonesia already recovering from COVID-19 and on the path of growth recovery going forward. This is the time to invest and more invest to Indonesia. 3 reasons why invest in Indonesia. First is always optimism of Indonesian economic recovery. We are looking at the growth around 4.1 to 5.1% this year, positive, not negative, positive. After growing negative last year, contraction, but our contraction is less than other country, as Minister Balil already mentioned. Where is our growth coming from? Very strong export performance. Investment are now rising, but of course, the strong consumption backed by private consumption and continuing stimulus from the monetary and fiscal. Our macroeconomic stability also being intact. Inflation low, exchange rate stable, as well as financial system stability under sound condition. And going forward, we are poised to come back again to our longer term economic growth reaching to 7%. You know, I think that's what we are targeting. I think over the next 5 years, we will be growing above 5% again, recording from track record of the past year. So this is number one. Optimism after showing its resilience of COVID-19, Indonesia economic growth are on the path of economic recovery. That's the first reason to invest in Indonesia, including also number of sectors that being presented in this investment forum. Second, strong policy coordination. I do believe, Tony, I'm very pleased being a governor of the central bank, but I enjoy very much the very strong coordination of the policy between the government, the central bank, and other agency. How day by day we are close coordination between the policy of fiscal policy of the government, monetary policy, between structural reform, as Minister Balil already mentioned, job creation law, which is attracting structural reform, investment in Indonesia, very bold reform, but also reform and other aspect, including also on the reform of the financial market, depending with this I also overseeing. So number two, very strong policy coordination. That's the track record of Indonesia in the past. We are showing our resilience of last year under very difficult, our holding hand very tightly together, and we are managed successfully, coming from pandemic COVID-19, and now we are navigating our economic recovery. Because the second reason is very strong and sound policy coordination from national economic policy, fiscal and monetary policy, financial policy, as well as policy in the sector, real sector. Reason number three, digitalization. I think this is my fellow investor in the Europe. I think also have a great opportunity in Indonesia. Digitalization of Indonesian economy flourishing and accelerating very fast on the back of COVID-19. Let me just give you the number. The size of our e-commerce this year will be growing 39%, which is reaching about $25 billion. This is the e-commerce where we are flourishing in Indonesia. Electronic money growing about 32%, which is reaching $18 billion. Digital banking this year growing about 22% and reaching about 2.2 trillion US dollar, not rupiah. 2.2 trillion US dollar. This is digitalization that I think flourishing Indonesia. Bank Indonesia is supporting and accelerating our digitalization of payment system. We have a QR Indonesian standard. We are also implementing open banking, open API. We are promoting a startup as well as we reform our regulation. This is a part of commitment to reform. That digitalization is also a new game changer for Indonesian economy. That's three reasons for investing in Indonesia. First, optimism of economic recovery that we will be seeing toward our longer-term growth, supporting not only export, but also a number of sector, industry, as well as infrastructure. Second, very strong and bold policy coordination, structural reform, macroeconomic, fiscal monetary policy, financial system, and also policy in the real sector, both central and local government. Third, I think digitalization and national economic and financial digital Indonesia already showing very fast growing and will be the game changer and will be supporting even positive outlook of Indonesia. So, Ambassador, my friend, what were you waiting for? Invest in Indonesia. With that, thank you very much and very good opportunity for Bank Indonesia to co-host this investment forum every year, once again. Thank you, Ambassador Destra, for very close cooperation. Thank you very much.
And thank you to you, Governor. Thank you very much for that insightful, positive spirit, which we'll explore further in our interactive session later. Ahead of that, our final and keynote speech today is from Pak Luhut Panjaitan. Pak Luhut has been a distinguished soldier, rising to general in Indonesia's armed forces. Since then, he's served the country in many ways, in many roles, including as President Joko Widodo's Chief of Staff. Luhut's current role in the cabinet is coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment. He's the President's trusted ally, and we will hear from him now with subtitles, I think. Bapak Luhut, silakan Pak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya akan memberikan sedikit keadaan perkembangan ekonomi kita dan juga nanti menyangkut berbagai aspek TKDN. Nah, kalau kita lihat tracking, tren new cases fatality rate di Indonesia itu menurun. Meskipun seperti Filipina, India, Prancis, dan Italia tren new case-nya, tapi kita tetap harus hati-hati karena setelah kembali Lebaran ini kelihatan juga sudah mulai ada peningkatan, walaupun jumlah peningkatan itu tidak seperti yang kita bayangkan, tapi masih ada waktu 2 minggu ke depan untuk kita waspadai kira-kira sampai di mana. Jadi kalau melihat ini sepertinya strategi kita cukup ampuh menangani ini. Mungkin juga karena jumlah yang divaksin sudah makin banyak. Nah, kinerja PDB masih terbatas, sektor real kalau kita lihat tadi konsumsi rumah tangga, indikasi perbaikan berlanjut, sudah kita lihat tadi. Yang kedua, konsumsi pemerintah, ketiga investasi, yang keempat ekspor dan impor. Jadi kalau kita lihat tadi itu dari slide yang sebelumnya itu masih cukup bagus ya. Jadi baik konsumsi rumah tangga, konsumsi pemerintah, investasi, ekspor dan impor. Nah, kalau kita lihat slide berikutnya, pertumbuhan ekonomi Indonesia itu masih sudah mulai perbaikan Q4 2020. Walaupun kita lihat pada Q1 ini masih ada kontraksi 0,7%, tapi terus membaik. Ya, kita tadinya berharap bisa lebih bagus, tapi belum sebaik yang kita harapkan. Dalam slide berikutnya kalau kita lihat rating sovereign bond Indonesia itu stabil di krisis yang menyebabkan downgrade di banyak negara. Artinya apa? negara-negara luar itu masih melihat Indonesia itu negara yang kredibel untuk investasi. Kalau kita lihat tadi Fitch, ada S&P, ada Moody's masih memberikan stabil. Padahal dia sudah mendowngrade banyak negara. Misalnya seperti Italia, Meksiko, Afrika Selatan itu sudah di-downgrade oleh Fitch maupun S&P. Nah, alokasi PEN 2021 meningkat dari 2020 karena kita masih perlu stimulus. Tadinya memang kita pikir, atau dunia bukan hanya kita, bahwa COVID ini tahun 2021 ini sudah makin menurun. Ternyata belum seperti yang kita harapkan itu. Nah, PEN kalau Anda lihat di slide ini, kategori kesehatan menciptakan peningkatan dana alokasi sebesar 83% sekian. Jadi masih angka yang cukup tinggi sebenarnya. Nah, kalau kita lihat slide berikut, perlunya mengatur perizinan berusaha, ya, perlunya mengatur perizinan berusaha, dan juga kita lihat tantangannya apa. Ini kan memang terlalu complicated waktu itu. Nah, sekarang dengan Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja ini semua dipercepat. Nah, implementasi Undang-Undang Omnibus Law, Omnibus akan menyederhanakan regulasi yang tumpang tindih. Anda bisa lihat di slide ini, terdapat 8.451 peraturan pusat dan 15.960 peraturan daerah. Nah, ini semua diharmonisasikan sehingga membuat orang investasi datang ke Indonesia lebih bagus. Nah, fokus investasi pemerintah itu di sektor kesehatan, slide berikutnya ini, hilirisasi sumber daya alam dan seterusnya. Ini sekarang kita ingin melihat ada hilirisasi ini jalan, karena itu memberikan nilai tambah, lapangan kerja dan seterusnya. Nah, hilirisasi nikel membuat ekspor besi dan baja meningkat. Ini saya kira Anda lihat di slide. Ini tahun lalu datanya ini. Dan sekarang air steel ini salah satu buah dari hilirisasi. Nah, ini juga ekspor baja bahkan mencapai lebih dari ekspor kendaraan, yang dulu kendaraan selalu menjadi primadona, sekarang oleh baja sudah dilewati. Nah, hilirisasi tadi itu kita masuk seperti ini. Jadi masuk di nikel ore, supply-nya sampai ini hilirisasi nikel untuk mengembangkan mobil listrik. Saya kira sekarang berjalan, kita berharap 2023 nah, kita sudah memiliki baterai listrik. Indonesia memiliki cadangan untuk menjadi pemain kunci di industri baterai listrik. Kemudian strategi hilirisasi melalui kawasan zona ekonomi khusus atau hijau atau green. Ini juga kalau slide berikutnya Anda lihat, KEK dibentuk berdasarkan permintaan investor. Pelabuhan digunakan bersama mempermudah ekspor, menurunkan biaya. Jadi kita buat sedemikian rupa sehingga itu menjadi bagian daripada supply chain. Nah, Indonesia memiliki potensi besar di bidang energi terbarukan karena sekarang ini kelihatannya fosil energi itu sudah menjadi musuh bersama. Nah, secara bertahap pemerintah Indonesia juga akan bisa memensiunkan nanti power plant batu bara, karena perbankan internasional pun tidak lagi mau mendanai energi energi fosil. Kenapa itu terjadi? Karena pemanasan global yang sekarang membuat bumi ini makin panas. Jadi kalau sampai naik 1,5 derajat itu akan punya dampak yang tidak bagus. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Pak Luhut. That concludes the first phase of our webinar, the speakers. We heard some fascinating insights from them, and we'll explore those shortly in our interactive session. The thing that struck me is how complete Indonesia's openness to this investment and trade has now become. You know, this is not just the central bank and the BKPM and the foreign ministry sort of extolling the virtues of the country as is their role, but this is across government. You know, even ex-soldiers and generals are very keen to talk about sovereign ratings and the opportunities that are there. There's robust growth in Indonesia. The demographics are absolutely compelling. The market is huge, physically and digitally, as people are realizing. We'll come to that more shortly. I thank all our speakers again for that. Unfortunately, ministers and governors are busy men. they have to drop off now. So thank you again, Governor Perry, Minister Luhut, and Minister Balil. But please, the rest of you don't go away. We're only just beginning now. We're going to move quickly to our interactive session, engaging with you all, the audience in London, Europe, and Asia. I'll shortly introduce you to our 4 wonderful panelists who you'll meet virtually. But first, a technical word about questions and how to ask them. You're very welcome to put your question. There we are. When you submit your question, please do it through the Q&A admin via the chat room on this Zoom call. And when you submit your question, please state your name, the institution you're representing or the company you're working for, and whether you would wish to ask your question in person, spoken, which is possible, or just submit it in written form through that chat room. Of course, we can't promise to answer everyone's question live. We'll take a sort of select representation of them. But I do promise you that questions we don't get to today will be replied by email from the many teams operating and supporting events like this. So you will get a reply and you may be on screen and hear the answer today. So please do ask your questions. I promise we'll pause during our discussion shortly to come, and we'll answer a mix of those questions. But it's now time for me to introduce to you our 4 brilliant panelists, and so we can hear from them. First of all, Dodi Budi Waluyo. He's the Deputy Governor of BI, the central bank, so working with Pat Perry, who you've just heard from. He's focused on economic and monetary policy. He's been a Deputy Commissioner for the Indonesian Financial Services Authority, the OJK, famous in Indonesia, among bankers anyway, which regulates all financial institutions. We also will be joined by Pak Ferry Pasaribu, who works in the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment, so working with Pak Luhut, who you've just heard from. Ferry's focus there is investment strategy and acceleration. I think everybody's focus in Indonesia today is investment strategy and acceleration. And Pak Ferry has long prior experience as a diplomat, also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Our third speaker, Pak Nurul Ikhwan, who does work at BKPM, the Indonesia's Investment Coordinating Board, so working with Pak Balil, the chairman, who you heard from just now. I think I remember Pak Nurul also used to work at IIPC in London. That's the Indonesia Investment Promotion Center. But he's currently back in Jakarta in the evening, the sunshine, designing Indonesia's national investment planning policy. Our 4th panelist today, Ibu Shinta Kamdani. So nice, I can say Ibu. She's the owner and CEO of Synthesa Group. That's a very large holding group in FMCG, property, energy, among other things. Bu Shinta is also the vice chair of Kadin. Kadin, that's the mnemonic for the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also vice chair at Apindo. That's the employers association in the country. Ibu's CV is replete with responsibilities, titles, and awards. But I picked one out. The one that caught my eye is Commander of the Polar Star, awarded by King Carl XVI Gustaf of Sweden. Now, there is a title, Ibu. But on to our main event. And I think, let me give a moment's description, partly for our panelists' benefit and partly for the audience. We've got about an hour, a little over an hour perhaps. We have 4 experts in their fields. I hope that all of us will feel free to participate at any moment. But let's separate, try and divide the hour into the four sections that we have, and the four areas of expertise that we have, and probably best to start with Pak Dodi at the central bank. Pak Dodi, to get us started, we've heard the official view from the very top, but how is Indonesia's economy performing, let's say, under the hood? How are you managing with COVID? How are you coping with various global economic issues? And what's your outlook? So 4 questions in one, Pak Dodi, but tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about the economy and macroeconomics.
Okay, thank you, Pak Tony, Your Excellency, Pak Dubes, all speakers. I think I just want to underline what already mentioned by the Excellency Ministers and also governors, that basically, if you look today, the Indonesian economy growth is continue to recover, even though we are still in the gradual phase. That's the first one. The second one, I think the direction of the recovery is expected to accelerate in 2021, at least from 2 things. The first is the effective vaccination program up to now. The second is the strengthening of the national economic program. This is, I will say, becoming a very short-term agenda from the government as well as from the central banks. We will continue first from the state budget. I think we will. The government will continue the state budget as a counter-cyclical of the spending of the condition. The second one from the central bank, we will continue with the accommodative policy, both from the monetary policy and also from the macro policy. The third one, I think, from the FSA, from the OJK, they will continue with the restructuring program. We don't want to see a lack of the premature of the exit policy, while we still thinking that the economy still need some of the accommodative policy. That's the first part of my statement. The second part, looking what we get from the latest data of the first quarter growth in 2021. I think all the figures showing we have improvement, although we still on the negative territory. The less contraction of the growth, minus 0.74% in last quarter. This is still, below of the central bank expectation, because we think that the growth already in the positive territory, but we still believe that the second quarter will be much better. We will growing around close to 7% for the second quarter 2021. I think looking some sectors, we will say there is 3 main sectors, like the manufacturing, trade, and construction. All the subsectors of the 3 main sectors now giving some promising trend. The first one on the manufacturing sectors, mainly contributed by the food, beverages, chemical, pharmaceutical, and also metal. The PMI of the manufacturing also showing already above 50 index, which is showing we are now in the positive trend. The second, looking also the new orders of the export and also new orders from the domestic also showing increase. So this is reflecting the manufacturing now is in the better shape. The second one on the trade, I think all the trade now showing the increase of the sales in automotive, in property. So yes, now there is a starting of the people back to consume. Of course, we have to look from month to month. We are not able to compare with the pre-COVID, but we are going to that. That's the second main sectors. The last one on the construction. I think the construction now are moving better than 2020. Not only from the government project construction, but also from the private construction. Having said that, Bank Indonesia put some projection for 2021. The growth will be around 4.1% until 5.1% in the mid of 4.6%. We will growing fast in the second half of this year due to some progress coming from the accommodative policy starting last year. Of course, this is subject, and we believe the vaccination program will continue. But we will stop here. Then I will continue later on the policy side. Pak Tony?
Thank you, Pa. Thank you very much for that. Now, of course, it's very absorbing hearing these compelling statistics, and they are compelling. But I wonder, let me ask Ibu Shinta, Bu, is this what you hear at Kadin and Apindo, or is this something that the bankers and the bureaucrats are saying, or is it something the businessmen are seeing and hearing too?
Well, definitely, Tony, actually throughout the pandemic, we've been working very, very closely with the government. So all the things that been shared by Padodi, actually, we are fully aware, both the global conditions as well as the Indonesian domestic conditions. And I think the whole, what we've learned about this pandemic is that how much we are dependent on each other. In other words, this is not a work that one stakeholder, element can work alone. So I think many aspects when we talk about the situation of Indonesia today, we have tried to build up the condition and climate in which we all need to contribute to improve what's Indonesian conditions. And I think when we talk about COVID specifically, I think what business is very much concerned is obviously the recovery of its economy. And on the recovery of its economy, very much related in how a government will be able to control the pandemic. So I think we've seen how government needs to support from the its vaccination program all the way to the stimulus and incentive that's needed for businesses, as well as also the structural reform that needs to be done by Indonesia. So yes, we are fully aware of the condition. This is not just on paper, but it's what's actually happening also on the ground.
I think you've got me now. Yes, thank you, Bu. Yeah, there's real life and there's investment statistics, but I think the real life is mirroring everything, albeit against this very difficult backdrop. Pa Nurul, Ikhwan, also, I mean, you're quite close to the businessmen. You're trying to design their strategies, and I know you've worked with them closely at IIPC and elsewhere before. Bu Shinta talked about the view from within the country, within Indonesia, but how is it seen outside still? In my view, in my experience, the sort of external perception tends to lag the reality in the country for better and worse. And I'm not convinced yet that this much more positive mindset from the very top, from the president in Indonesia, has yet sort of sunk in Europe and the States. But you're interacting with those global markets more. So how does it look to you?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Tony. Yes, the most important thing for the Ministry of Investment and BKPM is actually implementing the acting of the BKPM to be a kind of partner instead of being a kind of a government in a role. So it means that I guess it's quite clear the directions coming from the president, and it is also translated by the Minister Balil. And we are currently working together very close with Kadin especially, because one of the KPI that we have in the KPM in the Ministry of Investment, that we are going to make a kind of partnerships between big investors coming from abroad as well as from domestic, that they have to be linked with the local partners. And this is very positive points that will be provided by the government of Indonesia as well as by the business sectors of Indonesia. By providing of these communities, big investment and also small and medium enterprises with a level of trust that is supported by the government, this will create sound investment climate. It means that providing these partners in Indonesia, they are the ones that will know the exactly day-to-day business in Indonesia, in the locations where they are existing. So they are going to give a kind of guidance to the investors, especially those who are coming from abroad, about the reality in Indonesia on the ground. And they are working not only alone as a part of business communities, they are also guided by the government and as well as by Kadin. And in this case as well, Kadin and BKPM and these small and medium enterprises, we work together because we don't want also to create situations by offering companies as a partners from Indonesia coming from small and medium enterprises that they are not trustable, they are not bankable, and they are not under well supervisions of the government and also business community. So this is the parameters that we are using of offering communities, offering small and medium enterprises working together with big communities of business. So they are working in implementations of investment in Indonesia. So hopefully by having this kind of design, then they will know the reality that the things that is explained by the government, by the policymaker, it is also implemented in the business sectors by the business players. So this will deliver a very strong message that we are blended together between government and also private sectors to support of creating of business environment that is sound.
Thank you, Nurul. Thank you. Now, I did promise our audience that we would deal with your questions. We have some coming in. Some have been selected for me. There's one difficult one so far I've seen, and there's one quite easy one. So let's start with the easier one. And I'll come to you, Pak Ferry, shortly. I know we haven't got to you yet, but let's hear from the audience. This is from Egbert Lim from Global Consulting Company. He says, quote, "May I know how we could introduce technical collaborative investment opportunities to partners and potential investors in Indonesia?" So how can we collaboration, investment collaboration, technical to prospective partners in Indonesia. I don't know who would have like to have a go at that. Maybe Nurul again, or maybe Ferry.
Right. May I just start, Tony? Yeah, I guess that's very good questions from Pak Lim, isn't it? Yeah. So this is the way that we have already created. It means that BKPM and its rule currently is not only offering about the opportunities that we have in Indonesia. So offering these opportunities from Indonesia, this will be packaged in a kind of pre-feasibility study that is already done by BKPM, that currently we have around 23 of projects that is already done, the pre-feasibility study. And we are going to develop more other 25 within this year. So it means that we are coming to the investor by bringing the projects to them, which are very clear and clean in terms of land status, and then also in terms of the licensings and in terms of the partnerships. So by having these opportunities in a kind of feasibility study, this will guide clearly to those who are having interest to the investment in Indonesia. And this could be done by the cooperations between investment, IIPC, Indonesia Investment Promotion Centers in London, under the coordinations of our embassy in London. So they are going to do this kind of promotion as well. So in BKPM as well, in Indonesia, under the unit of Deputy of Investment Control, they have already designed as well about partnerships, some small and medium enterprises that will be eligible to be partner for the big investment coming to Indonesia. And this will be under supervisions of BKPM as well. It means that the companies, small and medium enterprises, that will be partner with foreign direct investment is already screened by BKPM, that they are capable and having capacity to work together with investors coming from abroad.
Thank you for that, Nurul.
If I may add, Tony, if I may add, so I think one aspect that's important in the promotion is, of course, bringing the business side. And I think we've been working very closely with BKPM as well. And, obviously prior to pandemic, we do bring many delegation and missions to the UK, and vice versa. The UK also brings a lot of mission to Indonesia. I think what's important about doing business in Indonesia is finding the right partner. So I do believe, and this is where we come in, because we do have company members that are ready. Pak Nur mentioned about projects. So we have companies all over Indonesia throughout the 34 provinces, because Kadin is basically the umbrella of all businesses in Indonesia. And I think many of the projects locates not just in Java or Jakarta or Java, but all over Indonesia. So it's important that foreign investors also can find the right guide or a partner to start and explore the investment opportunity. I do believe in many of the success story that has happened. Finding the right partner is very, very important. So I do encourage that. And Kadin has also a full-fledged business service desk that we work with BKPM to provide those services so that foreign investors can understand more from the business or the real players, real sector views on how to do business in Indonesia.
Thank you, Bu. Our little section on this sort of banking part is nearly up. But before I leave that, and I will come to Pa Ferry next. But one last question for Pa Dodi in the central bank there. Look, it's a bit technical, but I know we have a lot of analysts in, and of course we're looking at foreign direct investment, but Indonesia is a very interesting market also for investment portfolio flows. It's not the central theme of what we want to do, but it's really topical globally. This is the rise in US dollar yields, this perception of inflation expectations, not just in Indonesia, but regionally and globally, probably impacting more regionally in the food prices in particular. It's very relevant to Indonesia. And this may exert pressure on emerging market yields, including Indonesia, and that puts pressure on the central bank with its short-term rates. I know you kept them the same last week or earlier this week, but Pa Dodi, how do you see this macroeconomically? How real are these inflation risks, or at least the expectations of them? And is that influencing policy?
Thank you, Pak Tony. I think first, this is related to confidence. If you are talking about the at the end, talking about the exchange rate, the rupiah, you are talking about the confidence, because sometimes it's not reflecting the supply demand of the FX in the market. First, saying that USD yield will continue to increase. This is some problem with the emerging market, whether they want to let the domestic yield also increase, while the domestic economy still need a low yield or even low policy rate. That's a very delicate issue. Here, I think I want to share in this forum that the Bank Indonesia implementing the mixed policy. I think everybody here already understand our mixed policy. We are not rely on the just interest rate or just the liquidity policy, but we also rely on the macroprudential policy, which is we want to see the banking able to continue grow with the lending. Looking the situation today is that the yield will be continue high. I think this is very difficult position for Bank Indonesia to continue cutting the policy rate. Of course, the room is there, but we want to have giving some interest differential, yield differential for the investor able to come to the country to make the good return from that investment in the portfolio investment. So I think the position for the monetary policy will be held at the current days. We will not increase the rate, of course, but then we will think later on if we want to cut the policy rate. So what policy that we have to think for injecting the domestic economy, which is they are not still, asking for accommodative, for relaxing of the policy from the central bank. Then we will use the macroprudential policy. We will reduce our LTV. We will reduce our all the instrument, all the policy related with the lending growth. We will, even now, we will probably next week or probably next month, we will continue with some issuance, some the relaxing in our macroprudential policy for the productive sectors. So this is like a combination of the what we call as a hold stance, and then still continue with the accommodative policy. So overall, the central bank policy will be accommodative up to now. Even though the yield in the USD will increase, this is part of our policy with our exchange rate stabilization policy. We will continue our intervention. We will continue our what we call as a triple intervention in the spot market, in the forward market, and also in the bond market. So we want to see the rupiah stable. But the point here is, I think I want to underline what Bu Sinta mentioned in the beginning. I think we are not just rely on the authority from the central bank or from the government to addressing the recovery of the economy. We need everybody to join to the same boat. We will continue with the stimulus. We will continue with the policy for the market, but we want to see now the market starting to consume. I will repeat, to consume. I think the point for the economy is the consumption. We want to see in the second quarter will be much better than now.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you,
Pat.
Pat. So there we have it. The maestro, the conductor at the central bank, is conducting his orchestra very well, but in encouraging us all to play louder, consume more, and spend a bit more money. Pat Ferry, you have been a model of patience and calm, sitting in a very Javanese way, waiting. But it's your turn now, and I introduced you earlier. Thank you for being with us. I'm not going to rehearse the omnibus law, the job creation law. We all know that has happened, and that signals Indonesia's sort of newfound energy to attract investment. But following on from that, I know it's been in the process of actual implementation through the regions, through the ministries, through the institutions. So we've gone past the legislative phase, we're into the sort of, the implementation phase. I wonder if you can tell us how you think that is going, how it's progressed, the job creation law sort of bedding down, and perhaps what challenges remain in terms of the implementation of the omnibus law or job creation law. Pak Ferry.
Thank you, Pak Tony, Pak Dodi, Pak Nurul, Bu Sinta. Thanks so much for the opportunity. And of course, I'd like to address my boss, Ambassador Desra Percaya. I worked for him for years when I was still at Minister of Foreign Affairs, a couple of years back before I went to joining Pak Luhut in this maritime and investment affairs. I don't want to reiterate what all the other previous speakers already said, but I want to re-emphasize, Pak Tony, that the message that we have to send to investors, either domestic and foreign alike, is that we're trying by adopting this new law, the omnibus law or the job creation law, is that we're trying to push a sort of reform on our economic structure. That's the most important thing that we have to put across. Why? Because as you know it better than I do, I guess, in the past, we've been dealing with too many permits, too many licenses before one would be able to start business in Indonesia. And I think it's well reflected in our rank on ease of doing business by the World Bank. Even though we've been improving over the last 5 years, we've been leaping forward in terms of our rank. But until 2020, Pak Nurul knows it better, I guess, we're still stuck at number 73, I mean. So even we are below Vietnam. One of the aspects that strikes me is starting a business is still hassle in Indonesia. So that's why we need to make sure that this omnibus law would be fully implemented. It's one of my portfolios with, of course, the Ministry of Investment in making sure that this new law is being fully implemented throughout Indonesia. That's the challenge, actually, Tony. The main element of this new law is that we see investment not from the license-related perspective, but we see that from the risk being involved in investment. That makes the difference. That's the game changer if you want to compare Indonesia before and after the adoption or the implementing of the omnibus law. So, for instance, right now we categorize risk being involved in investment into 4 subcategories from low risk, medium. We divide medium into low, medium, high, medium, and high. So your business is being analyzed through the online system submission by the Ministry of run by Ministry of Investment. Then you don't need any license whatsoever, as long as you can fulfill all the required paperwork through the system, through the OSS, and then you're good to go, right? But the higher the risk involved, and then of course you need certification, and with this high, and then of course you need license. So we're trying to simplify this red tape, I would say, either at the national or at the regional level. I've been touring Indonesia, Tony, so I got the story not from theory, not from books. So I toured Indonesia. I just came back from Jambi. So if you talk about challenge, I have to be very frank here that not everybody is aware of this new law yet, including some local government, regional governments in Indonesia. I just came back from Jambi. Even only 1 or 2 of them were aware that we do have this kind of new law. Can you imagine that? So it's a challenge, but I'm upbeat because Minister of Investment or BKPM under Pak Nurul is working 24/7, Tony, to make sure that the new risk-based analysis system of OSS is new OSS, so it will be fully featured. For instance, even the recommendations that normally were taken care of the line ministries, now we're being put into just one system on this OSS, and it will be fully operational by June 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, right, Pak Nurul? So I'm pretty upbeat, but we need to work harder and smarter at the same time. We have to make sure that everybody knows that this new law would be fully operational, and the president has given a very clear instruction that there's no excuse whatsoever to finally make this adoption of new law being delayed. So there's no excuse. It has to be implemented, whether we like it or not. So it's game changer. Get ready, and the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Investment Affairs is more than ready to work hand in hand with the KPM and of course with the private sectors. Even I've been talking with Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs that we need to have a meeting with the people like Bu Sinta. We need to listen to them. We need to listen. We need to know in depth about how they respond to this new law. I'm trying to pitch this to my deputy, because actually it was supposed to be my deputy who speaks here. Yeah, that's our commitment, that we have to make sure that this new law is being implemented. Thank you.
We like the law, Pak Ferry. Thank you very much. We like the job creation law. We like the president pushing that law, speaking for investors outside the country. It's that law is there to help you, to help us. Now, I did say there was a difficult question, and I wonder if we have on the screen Jens Simanska, the CEO of Latex Foam Technology. While he's welcome to put it in person, while he's doing his hair to come on, I'll tell you it's in the energy sector, this question. It's tricky, but it is true that out of Europe, and in fact particularly UK, with COP26 in prospect later this year, there's a lot of attention on renewable energy, on sustainable energy, and renewables more generally. So the question is in that area, looking ahead to COP26. Are you there, Mr. Jens Simanska? If not, I'll ask it for you.
You can hear me now. Hi, Andrew.
Very good. Go ahead, Jens.
Yeah, we are planning 2 projects in Indonesia. We are looking for investors for these projects, and related with this project, we have a quite high consumption of natural latex, which sums up to about nearly 6,000 tons per year. And as we know, rubber plantation have a high CO2 sequestration factor. And is there already any, regulation from the Indonesian government how to consider this CO2 sequestration during an investment or before an investment?
Any thoughts on that from any strategists or climate experts? I know Indonesia's attending COP26 in November, and I know they're looking at the allowances, these carbon allowances, and they've signed up with everybody else. But how do we help Jens understand that?
Yeah, can I just start, Pak, for this, Pak Tony? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jens, for the questions. Yeah, actually, for us, when we talk about the green energy and then also green investment, it has been in a very common discussions inside of government. But then maybe we need to make a kind of design very clearly about the green investment in Indonesia, because the things that a kind of challenge that we have in Indonesia, this green investment will have a kind of very serious impact to other industry sectors. For example, from those who are investing coming from Europe, for example, and those who are having business in automotive industry from Europe, because these companies currently they have a concern about the consumptions of energy, which is not produced by the friendly power generators. In this case, that those companies, big companies coming from Europe, from America, from Japan, from Canada, they are going to do a kind of expansions of investment only in the country that will produce the electricity, which is green electricity. In this case, that we are not going to provide, or we are not allowed to provide the energy that will be generated coming from coal-fired generations. So this is something that is already in the concerns of the government. And because of the situations as well, then especially PTPLN and also under coordinations with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, they have already the design up to, let's say, 2030, that we are going to have a kind of 23% of shares of renewable energy as a kind of support of the supply of this energy. And we are also thinking about carbon trading. That was in a very hot discussions under Ministry of Finance. And we in Investment Coordinating Board, Ministry of Investment, we are also designing about the possibility of investment under this carbon trading. Because we have an opportunity actually, like let's say, optimizing of the pool that was used by the mining sectors that is currently unutilized. So we could utilize this for, let's say, power generations. We will use a kind of what you call a kind of a power that will be generated by solar panels. So we could utilize this kind of thing. And we have also peatlands that will be utilized, huge, because we are the second biggest peatlands owners in the world, that we could utilize this for some industries that will reduce as well carbon productions, that after this could be contributed into the deductions of the carbon as a kind of commitment of the government of Indonesia. And this is something that will be brought about by the President of Indonesia during the COP in UK within this year. I guess the private sectors under Bu Sinta and all the colleagues there, they have also very good concerns. And in terms of industry, in industrial estates especially, we have also the design that bringing of the green energy and also other technology that is friendly to the environment will be the best concerns of the government that will elaborate and implemented by the private sector, such as the communities under Kadin. So that's
like rubber, like latex.
Yeah,
that's one of the preferred sectors. And
Yes.
and I would add to that. Actually, tomorrow I'll talk about it later. But a lot of these business matching projects are actually around renewables and sustainable energy, where Indonesia has a lot of potential for that. Jens is talking about a different thing, that the production of latex through the trees, the rubber trees, helps absorb the carbon, hence the carbon sequestration. So that's a sort of on the plus column. There are industries in Indonesia that are in the minus column, and it's about managing these and perhaps pricing them, Nurul, as you say, through carbon credits. That's something for the bankers to think about. It's a tremendously elaborate and complex set of procedures, which actually the rest of the world is also coming to terms with. We're all learning about it, and the more you learn, the more complicated it becomes. But Indonesia is on it. Jens, any quick follow up, or have we tried to answer what you were asking?
Tony, I just want to add specifically, because I know there's a big interest from the UK also on renewable energy, and I wanted to mention that in Indonesia, actually, in preparation for COP26, government has also put its target on its NDC, and we have actually it's involved the business to also each of the sector to have its target of NDC, and land-based, transportation industry, as well as energy. And I have to say, energy has the toughest time reaching it. Pak Nurul mentioned about our target of renewable for in 2025 for 23%. And I think this is something that is still a struggle. So energy transition is still an issue for Indonesia. As you know, we are very much dependent on fossil fuel. At the moment, we still have subsidized fossil fuel. So it's hard to compete with the tariff as well. So the regulatory framework is very important when we talk about renewable energy in Indonesia. And we can't compete with fossil fuel. So there has to be clear commitment from the government. I think this is what the government is trying to push, not just providing incentive, but also to really, we talk about financing, one thing. I think many of the global financial institutions doesn't even want to touch anymore a fossil, coal, power plant, and so forth. But still, it's how can we really achieve that energy transition? And I think the right energy mix is something that Indonesia really need to follow through. And we talk a lot about it. Actually, the law of renewable energy is right now in the parliament trying to be worked out. So there's still many homework that needs to be done. Carbon credit is another aspect we have done. For example, one of our members is in the ecosystem restoration program project, and a lot of carbon credit. But I think Indonesia, because of its target, still need to develop its policy. We're still not yet there in terms of the carbon credit transaction. So the B2B, can we do directly B2B? It has to be involving the government. It becomes a little bit more tricky. So,
well, to be fair to Indonesia, Boo, there's many countries that have not quite come to terms with carbon credit.
That's right.
There is a market in Europe. It's very clunky. The price was really shooting up last week. I think around 50 euros a carbon ton now. But it's up and down. It's not quite as bad as Bitcoin, but it's not smooth. It's not really settled and established. So Indonesia is learning, quite honestly, like we all are, like everybody else is in the world as well. But we better learn fast because it's coming. And Jens's question gets us thinking about that. Thank you very much for it, Jens, in Netherlands or Germany, maybe. It's daytime, I can see wherever you are. Anyway.
Across the border.
Just across. Anyway, many thanks for that. There'll be some more questions, but I think we better move on where we're about halfway through, perhaps more than halfway through our interactive panel, and we've still got two of our key sort of sections to come. Nurul, you are one of those, so it's sort of your turn, but everyone is going to speak as we go along. And I think again, it was looking at sectors perhaps significantly, and about factors affecting foreign investment. I mean, all these factors affect it, but I think we should give you the floor to help articulate that in your own way. I mean, thinking of the businessmen listening now, the commercial prospective investors, what do you see, Nurul, as the most significant current opportunities for attracting FDI investors, not portfolio flows, not fund managers, FDI commercial investment to Indonesia, and perhaps what challenges are you still trying to address?
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Pak Tony. So with the current situations of the pandemic, it means that we make a kind of a rethinking and redesigning about doing promotions on attracting investment coming to Indonesia. Why? Because almost all the countries in the world, they are calling for their investors to coming back home, to do investment in their own countries because of the situations. So it is also happened to the countries that they have resources for the investors that used to be expanding their investment to other countries like Indonesia as well. So knowing these situations then, the thing that we are doing currently in terms of the strategy, we are now designing about situations that we are going to go to the international or global competitions by bringing a comparative advantage that we have. Of course, competitive advantage is very important, but for this time being, because of the situations, that comparative advantage should be playing more role than previously. Now, for these situations then, we are now thinking about the reach of the natural resources that we are having, that global business, they are looking for it. So for example, like the things that was mentioned by Minister Luhut and also Minister Balil, that talking about nickel, for example, in the era of the electric vehicles will be the future business. It means that those producers of these electrical vehicles, they are looking for the possibility of processing and producing batteries coming from nickels or from ferrum. So for this, Indonesia as a country having at least 20%, 23% of nickel deposits, of the global deposits, we have a very significant role that could be played in the future of becoming a kind of center of productions of batteries for electrical vehicles. So this is the things that we are going to play more. So having natural resources and also based on our job creation laws as well, because we have three pillars there. The first is about economic transformations, and then the second is about competitiveness, and then also about the democracy of economy. So talking about the competitiveness, it means that we would like also to have combine this kind of a kind of what we call a kind of making more added value of economy, the changings of these mindsets. So because of this, then the value added creations that we are going to do is based on the strength of Indonesian natural resources. And other factors that will affect on investment is especially about the price of the lands that will be used and utilized for their business, be it as a kind of site for their facilities of productions, or that could be used for the plantation. So this is the things that we would like also to design. And because of this, the government has already made a kind of approach that we would like to provide better investment climate and industrial estates and special economic zones. And currently, Minister Balil has got instructions from the president that we are going to make a kind of evaluations on the operations of 15 special economic zones in Indonesia. And then also we are going to sit together with the business community, especially those who are managing industrial estates. We are going to design about something that could offer something more interesting for investors, so that Indonesia, with these special economic zones and also industrial estates, we are able to compete with other competitors coming from the neighboring countries, that we provide the special economic zones and also industrial estate with competitive price and also supporting infrastructure. And for this kind of supporting infrastructure, we have the model of Batang Industrial Estates in Central Java. That is the one that fully supported by various ministries, started from providing of the land, infrastructures, and other things. And this is the things that could be used as a kind of models, as a kind of benchmark for special economic zones and also industrial estate, because this has already been attracting of investment coming to Indonesia into these locations. So hopefully,
yes,
I think these projects then that could be also copied to other industrial estate and also other special economic zones, we are having more competitive effort and situations in competing of attracting investment coming into Indonesia. And of course, another thing is about simplifications on the licensings, as already mentioned by Bu Sinta and Pak Ferry as well, that in this case, we are going to implement in this coming 2nd of June of realizations new OSS risk-based approach. So this will simplify more about licensing, and it is integrated among ministries about this licensing. So hopefully this will run smoothly and will provide faster and more transparency of licensing process and procedures in Indonesia.
Thank you, Nurul. Thank you, Pa. I'm going to come in a moment to Imani Sadani. She's in Tractobel, Indonesia. She has a question for you, Pa Nurul, but everyone can chip in. While she's getting ready, while we're trying to find Iman Sadani, I mean, it was interesting what you said about the battery, because that is a classic sort of midstream. Indonesia can go upstream to the mines, great nickel producer, and long established history in that production, to the sort of environmentally approved and sustainable electrical energy in the batteries that you can make, and then downstream into the car manufacturer using the steel that's also abundant. So it's a classic example of really where I think you can try and integrate this into existing infrastructure and appetite in Indonesia. I was saying that little bit to allow our questioner to get ready. Are you there, Imani Sadani, Tractobel?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Hello. Hello,
Please
everyone.
go ahead.
Selamat sore.
Selamat
Yeah,
sore.
very nice to meet you. So I'm Iman. I'm working as a business developer for Tractable Engineering, part of NG Group. So it's a French company dealing with renewable energies as well as water and urban planning. So I wanted to ask you, Pa Nurul, for the BKPM investment strategy about the new 25 project, I think. If you already selected the consultant for this, and what's the status, more or less, what's the info you can share with us?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Iman. Pak Tony, may I answer directly?
Please go ahead, Pat.
All right. Yes, thank you, Ms. Iman, for the questions. Yeah, we have done for the 23 projects last year. And this year, we are going to make another 25 projects. Yeah, luckily, we have already tendered this project. Right?
Yeah.
The tender is still ongoing. So it means that in the near future, there will be the winner for this project. But the things that we are going to develop for this, prior to these consultants executing of making this feasibility study, we have already made a kind of coordinations with the local government in Indonesia and the related private sectors, especially those the owner of the land, and then also the owner of some projects that we could make this as a kind of possibility for partnerships for this. So in this case, the thing that we are going to do for the rest of the 6 months of this project, in these 25 projects, so we are going to sit together with the related ministries as well, getting the input coming from them prior to the execution of composing this feasibility study. And then right after that as well, we are going to have another FGDs of getting some more input coming from them to finalize about these projects that will be offered to them. Yes, answering to your questions whether or not this is already having a kind of consultants in executing this project, it is about the time that we are waiting for the informations and announcements, the winner of this tender in Indonesia. I haven't known yet which one will be the winner, but it is already more than 80% of the process for this tendering process.
Okay. Understood.
There is your
Okay,
answer,
thank you.
Iman. Any quick follow-up to that? I guess there'll be some more tenders. I mean, it doesn't all suddenly stop. There are years and tenders to come.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one that I need to share with you, Ms. Iman, as well, that this tender will be opened only for the companies that they are existing in Indonesia. This one is not international open tender. This is only for those who are operating and exist in Indonesia.
Yeah, we have a company in Indonesia, and we are like registered to the to Indonesia actually. So maybe that's one for us actually.
Yeah. You could still wait for next year possibility of having the same project to be announced.
All right. Thank you so much for all this information. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
And thank you to you for asking the question, Iman. We will have some more questions, so please keep them coming and they'll be picked. Pak Nurul is being very popular at the moment, but I think Pak Ferry has some understanding of mining or some of the issues there. And I wonder if you want to talk about that sector, perhaps more loosely the energy sector, and how your strategy and planning is working with that, some of this downstreaming that I talked about, or the preferred sectors within mining. And I think you're looking to originate the source material there. Is there anything you want to say about that, Pak Ferry?
Thank you, Tony. I'm not the expert. We have another colleague who is fully in charge of that issue, but I do have some general, I would say, knowledge about that. So as already mentioned by the Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs earlier, that we're trying to push this effort to downstreaming our natural resources, especially in of course, nickel, bauxite, and copper, right? So we try. The main reason of doing that, instead of apart from having an abundant resources of those natural resources, we do understand, as already discussed as well by Pak Nurul, that we're trying to reduce our carbon emission, even though it's still a patchy work, I would say, because not everybody's on board yet. But we are steaming forward on that, and EV is one of the efforts to implement efforts to reduce the carbon emission. Maybe if you already read somewhere in the news that even in our new capital, the use of electric vehicle will be adopted. Will be the main mode of transportation, I would say, in our new capital. So we're moving toward that direction, and the government is providing incentives for companies that are downstreaming, doing the downstream efforts in nickel, copper, tin, and even renewable energy. Right? We provide tax holiday and tax allowance, and even some investments allowance as well. So even the existing companies that are operating in Indonesia have been enjoying these incentives. So as mentioned by Pak Luhut just now, that our iron and steel export have been on the uptick trend over the last 2 years, right? So we're moving this forward, and hopefully, and we would complete all the chain, the value chain cycle in the near future. For instance, even Hyundai has already started its huge investment, Tony, in Indonesia, in Delta Mas in Cikarang. They brought in billions of US dollars, aimed at constructing the first EV producer in EV plant, I would say, in Southeast Asia. So I guess we are on the right track, but the job is not completed yet, but we are there already.
Thank you, Pat. We have another question. I'll shortly come to Bushinta for her little piece in our So our time is slipping away. The sands of time run through the hourglass. We don't have too long left, but I'll come to you, Boo, in a moment. Just one more question first. We have from Mr. Paul Dyson. It's a message. He's from Crossrail International. I think that's a UK company, but looking at Indonesia's significant pipeline of infrastructure projects. And I know Indonesia's doing a lot of rail development. Are you there, Paul? Or I can ask it for you. If we can find you, please go ahead, Paul Dyson.
Thanks, Anthony. Can you hear me? Brilliant. Thanks very much. Thanks for offering the chance to ask a question to the panel. Panel, we have been involved with infrastructure development in Indonesia for many years now, and we are aware of significant infrastructure pipeline that is currently in place. I think the interesting question is that given the current issue around the pandemic and the changes in priorities often we see in many other governments around the world, does the panel see that Indonesia will be required to reprioritize or potentially cancel some of those infrastructure projects? Or will you continue, do you think, investing in these significant projects to drive economic stabilizing and further growth?
Maybe that's between Nurul and Ferry, probably, but anyone feel free to chip in.
Ferry, you may go ahead.
Well, thank you, Pak. Well, actually, I'm not fully informed about our infrastructure projects on railroad, but on the other projects such as toll road, we are right now trying to, we call it as refocusing our existing resources, because the toll road networks that are being developed as we speak, that are being constructed as we speak, is huge. You're talking about over 2,000 kilometers that would connect Bakahuni in Lampung up to Aceh, and it requires, of course, you would imagine billions, even billions US dollars, 100 billions of the US dollars, and right now we're trying to refocus some of the available budget in order to ensure that all the provinces, there are 8 provinces that connects will be connected through this road network, a toll road, right? But in terms of railroad, I'm not well aware, but the plan is I guess it's really advanced. For instance, we are in the final stage of completing the first ever in Southeast Asia region, the high-speed railway that connects Jakarta and Bandung. And if it's successful, actually my office, my deputy is in charge of that as well, directly. And if it's successful in the next couple of years in terms of the rate of the readership, something like that, then it will be continued to Surabaya, right? And at the same time, we're working as well on improving our existing railroad that connects Jakarta to Surabaya into the mid-speed train. But I'm not informed about the latest status of that. But of course, we could take your question, and I would be more than happy to assist you. Maybe later on, you could reach me through, or Pak Nurul through our colleagues in London. Thank you.
And tomorrow, Pat, at the business matching, there'll probably be project experts there who can speak more specifically on that. Not just the open railroad, but also MRT in the cities. I know Crossrail's involved with that. Well, I don't know if there's another question coming, but while we're waiting for that, we have about 10 minutes of the panel discussion left, and then we've got to sort of start to wind up. But Bushinta, maybe it's your turn now, and I know you look at the infrastructure and opportunities in Indonesia from the private sector, from the commercial viewpoint. It's the other side of the fence. From my long time there, I think one of the challenges, one of the legacies, is the underlying physical infrastructure. Yes, we're improving the rail and we're improving the MOT, all the transport, but some of the underlying issues, the health, in a way, the education of people, the workforce, How do you see these, how can I call them, softer, but really quite fundamental issues of health, education, development of society, not looking particularly at the pandemic, but it shows the problems. How does business see progress in those softer areas?
Thank you, Tony. I think human capital development is definitely key. And I think the president, I remember from when he was re-elected, this is really one of his most priority program that he has. If you see, Indonesia has a demographic bonus, but in actuality, it's been always a concern that the bonus can be a liability if we are not putting a focus in terms of what we're going to do with creating more jobs as well. So if you look at the structure of Indonesia manpower right now, before the pandemic, 55% is already in informal sector. After the pandemic, it's even more, about 70%. And this is really a challenge for Indonesia because we just don't create enough jobs. I mean, over the years, our ICOR figure, every investment actually that every 1 trillion investment that's put in. I remember in 2016, it was still about 4,000, absorbing about 4,000 something, 4,200, and then it reduced to 2,300, and then now today it's about 1,200. So you can see that the tendency of investment is also going more into the capital intensive instead of the labor intensive. And with actually also the shift of jobs, if you look at now technology, going also into, more digitalization, we talk about industry 4.0, the kind of jobs that are needed is also very different. So we are trying to look at this, how we can improve our link and match. Because at the moment, what's happening is what comes out from the education cannot be absorbed in the industry. So we've been working very closely with the government to get the right link and match, do more vocational training. I mean, as you know, you've heard a lot about Indonesia, how it has really pushed its vocational training program, because we want to ensure that we have a better link and match. And all the things that you mentioned about education, you talk about this is really key, because the fundamental is we need to understand that whatever it is, when we talk about human capital development, education is very important. And we talk about upscaling, we talk about rescaling, this is what is needed today. So I think priority of the soft infrastructure is equally important for Indonesia, especially with such high population country with such high demographic bonus and also high working age. How we can create more jobs in order for us to be able, I mean, we need to get at least 2 million jobs a year. How can we do that? And we talk also a lot, Tony, about more entrepreneurship, because we just if the form we cannot create enough jobs, we need to create its own job. And I think entrepreneurship also play a very big role in this. And I think we need to address the informal sector. I think informal sector also, we talk about a lot of our SMEs as our backbone of the economy. I think definitely government need to pay a lot of focus also on this and how to support our SMEs and develop more of our formal sectors as well.
Well, let me pick that up a bit, Shinta. Time is getting short, but we have try and squeeze in one more question, and I'll come back to Shinta. First of all, if Paul Dyson is still listening, Indonesia is very responsive these days, and I have something to tell you, that the Ministry of Transportation, through the Transportation Attaché here in the London Embassy, Pak Lolan, he is going to contact you and follow up directly with some authoritative answers to your question, Pak Paul. And this is Indonesia. You ask and we answer. Of course, coming back to Shinta, the win-win with this is, I mean, the business people want it, the companies want it, an educated, attentive, and up-to-date workforce. But the karyawan, the society needs it, and so it's a kind of win-win. And I know the government is looking at this, but it's a process, and there's a bit of a legacy to unravel.
But I think the skilled labor is very important, right? Because we are going also moving on our competition, getting more high tech, going into more innovation and technology. So we need the skilled labor, Tony. We have no choice, right? So I think we have to go into that direction no matter what.
Well, I totally agree. I'm being a bit risky now. There's one more question. In the interest of time, Ferry has his hand up. Ferry, did you want to say something?
Just to add what Bu Sinta already said, I agree with Bu Sinta. This soft side of investment should be our focus as well. I mean, even the Ministry of Investment, maybe us, and Ministry of Education should work hand in hand in this regard. Because again, I get direct account from some companies operating in the region. They are facing it. They're having difficulties in recruiting people around their projects that fulfill their requirement level, right? I would say their standard. So I haven't seen the regional governments throughout Indonesia pay attention to this kind of issue. So I guess I agree. We have to have a more rigorous effort in this regard to improve our supply of workforces, because with all due respect, if we don't have skilled skilled workforces, and then that will be detrimental to our efforts to attract more investments. And I always see at what Vietnam has been doing. And again, from first account from companies, they complimented Vietnam in this regard. They said that Vietnam has been able to create a very enabling ecosystem, not only in terms of region regulations, but also on the soft side of the investment, that is the workforces. I guess we need to start working together, Pak Nurul, Bu Sinta, in dealing with this issue, especially with regions that are not yet there in terms of improving their human resources. Thank you.
One of the great things about these forums is that not only do the audience and the investors hear, but the internal figures in Indonesia. We've got some very serious ministers and people here, and they hear it themselves. So perhaps it galvanizes all of us. Pak Nurul, you had your hand up. Just a quick last comment, and then we'll think about winding up. But
Yes, thank you. So 2 days ago, we had a kind of discussions with Bappenas, the Ministry for National Planning, concerning about the issues that was just mentioned by Ibu Sinta. That yes, we do agree with your thought that human resource capacity and capability is very, very important. And shifting of the business that is currently using more technology, and especially in IT, this is something that should be fulfilled by Indonesia manpower supply. So it means that in this case, providing job opportunities should be supported by the situations that the job itself looking for very specific capacity and capability. We cannot just provide whatever the job that should be supported only by the unskilled labor, because unskilled labor finally will support only uncompetitive product in the global market. So this is something that was also a kind of concern of us. Well, because of these situations, then Bappenas is leading currently the discussions about putting together the effort that in industrial estate and in special economic zones, there will be a kind of vocational education that is dedicated to supply of the manpower that will be trained based on the need of the industries inside of the industrial estate and also special economic zone. So those will be our future moving forward in making a kind of betterment on the manpower supply. Thank you, Pak Tony.
Thank you very much for that. I think we better call it a day for questions. We're nearly 10:53, and I need to wind up. So I think sadly, I should say that our panel's time is up. The hour went by, more than an hour, went by very fast, but we need to honor our time scheduling and draw the event today to a close, I think. Before that, though, let me remind everyone of our event tomorrow. Starts at the same time, 9 a.m. here in London. We're calling it Business Matching, where project owners of these several large prospective infrastructure projects in Indonesia are available to you, for you to discuss with them details of these projects and understand them better. So matching investors one by one with projects one by one. You can register to the link you now see up on the screen in front of you. We've got more than 20 particular projects offered, ranging from infrastructure, railways was mentioned, waste management, etc. So hopefully we'll see you here tomorrow. But for now, let me thank once more all 4 members of our wonderful panel. Thank you for coming, Pa Dodi Waluyo, Pa Ferry, Nurul Ishwan, and of course, Ibu Shinta Kamdani. And special thanks to our host today, Pa Desra and Pa Diki, who put together today's great event for all of us. But mostly, it's thank you to you, our audience, and we hope investors, literally around the world, for linking in and listening to us today. Terima kasih semua. Thank you, everyone. And with that, it's goodbye for today from me and from the Indonesia Investment Forum in London. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Pak Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nurul, Pak Ferry, Bu Sinta. Everybody, thank you.
Terima kasih banyak,
Pak Dubes, terima kasih, Pak Dubes.
Terima kasih, Pak Dubes.
Mas Adit,
Pak Diki, terima kasih.